You are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another live here on Expat Barbados. Welcome, Anita.
Hi, everybody.
We are both here in England. I'm in rainy Nottingham. Anita, where are you at the moment?
I'm in Herne Hill in London.
Anita's in Herne Hill in London at the moment. So she's taken a break. She's come to see the family back in the UK. So thank you so much, everybody, for being so patient. We have had really appalling weather over here in England. It's like non-stop raining, thunderstorms. And so the Wi-Fi was affected. But hopefully we are okay. So we have got 12 people tuning in already, and the numbers are going up. That's brilliant. So, good afternoon, all. That's from Bayesian Brick. Thank you. Good afternoon to you. Genevieve is back again. Good evening from London, she says. So, please, everybody, say hi in the chat and let us know where you are located. Right, Donna Nelson, thank you so much. She is from Jamaica. Wonderful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yes, come on. I know there's more of you out there. The numbers are going up. Don't be shy. Share and tell us where you are located currently. That would be really lovely. Last time we had people from the UK. We also had people from Jamaica. We have people from Barbados and other parts of the Caribbean, as well as the US. So, all right, Sandra. Oh, you're lucky. You've got sun. Sandra Connor is tuning in, and she said, "Good evening from sunny Slough." And then Annette Calendar is saying, "Hi." She's in West London, UK. Hi, Annette. Hi, Sandra. So lovely to see people who are here to support us today. So, Anita is going to. You will not be disappointed. Anita's got a wonderful story to share with you all. Right. Okay. So, Genevieve said it's been sunny and bright for her in London too. We had that and then it changed about 2 hours ago. So there you are. But anyway, we're going to get started. So welcome to my channel. Welcome to your channel, Expat Barbados. If you are new here, then welcome. Welcome, because this community really is growing. And so I'll tell you a little bit about what Expat Barbados is. Expat Barbados really helps you to make the move to Barbados in a way that suits you, your needs, and your interests. So keep watching if you are interested to learn more, and more important, keep watching if you want to learn and hear Anita's story. Because as I said, she's got a wonderful story to tell. If you've not had a chance to read the description, don't worry, because I will be going into the description and telling you a little bit about Anita, and then Anita will actually introduce herself. Okay. Sylvie's here, locked in from West London. Yeah, typical of knots. Rain. Yeah. So yeah, wonderful to see so many people. Ariella's saying hi, Jay and Anita.
Hi.
Ariella is from Manchester, so she's saying hello. I think Anita, you've got a few friends on here today who
that's nice.
here to support you, which is wonderful. Dorothy is here from Barbados. We've got 19-20 people. The numbers are going up. Thank you so much, everybody, for bearing with us, because like I said, we had a few technical issues because of the weather. But we are here. So if you happen to watch this live afterwards and it's on the replay, then please don't be afraid to ask questions, because I will go back in and check, and I will answer any questions I can as well. All right. So let's get started. So really, the first question for Anita is, tell us a little bit about yourself, Anita.
Oh, hi everybody. I am a descendant of Barbadian parents. Both my mother and father were from Barbados. One from the parish of St. Michael, my mother, my late mother, she's gone now, bless her. And my father, he was from Spikestown, St. Peter, Porter's Road to be exact. I was born here in Paddington, London. We moved eventually to Manchester, raised in Salford. So most of my upbringing was in the north of England. I had never flown anywhere out of the UK until I was age 42. And this was because a friend of mine was going to become 40. And she said, come on, Anita, you always say you come and you never come. I want you to come with me and help celebrate my 40th. So I just said, okay, fine. So I flew for the first time ever at the age of 42 on the plane from Manchester. And I think it was with an airline at the time called Monarch. They don't do that now.
Oh, and I remember Monarch. Yeah.
With Monarch, and it was £99. Let me add that to it. Plus 30 something pounds for insurance. It was very cheap. So I flew to Barbados. I think that was about April 1999. So that was my first visit to Barbados. When I got there, the plane was fine. I wasn't scared or anything. The plane was fine. When I arrived in Barbados, I couldn't believe how the place was. After we come through all the customs and everything, and somebody met me there who I'd never met this person before. Actually, it was a friend of the family, and he said he would meet me because my friends were coming from Reading, so they flew from London. Anyway, I couldn't. He said he'll drive me around the island if I wanted to while I'm waiting for my friends to land. So I said, yeah, fine. So I couldn't believe the place. I was in awe of the place. I said to myself, how did my mum and my father leave such a beautiful country? I just couldn't believe it. The little shackle houses, obviously nothing like what we're used to in the UK. And I was just looking from left to right out of the car. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. It was really incredible. So that was my first experience of flying and visiting Barbados. And I said to myself afterwards, every year I will be coming back here to visit every year until I can come and live here one day. And I just said that in the back of the car to the gentleman, and he started laughing. And I must say,
you did it.
But I did visit Barbados every year. And as my husband always likes to remind me, one year I went twice. Yeah. So basically, that's just my journey to get to see Barbados, where my parents came from, which is where our heritage was. I know it's from Africa, but that's where my parents were born and grandparents and so forth.
Oh, thank you, Anita. That's a lovely, lovely story. Every time you tell me that, I have goose pimples, because the fact is, like you said, you'd never flown before. You only went because your friend was saying, it's come on now, it's my birthday. So you thought, right, let's go. And then stepping off that plane.
The heat.
Exactly, the heat that hits you. Because when you go to Barbados, it's one of those where the plane stops and you have to actually get out into the heat. You actually get off and you actually walk out onto the airport ground. You're not actually going directly into the actual building. So the heat is the first thing that hits you, and it's not changed all those years.
No.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Anita. Before we move on, I just want to let you know that in today's video, Anita's going to be telling you a little bit about herself. Obviously, she said a little bit, she's giving you a little bit of an intro. Well, Anita is married to James. So it's been very much a journey that the two of them have made together. And so I want to sort of like last week, we had the ladies. We didn't have Paul, but it's the same today. Anita's going to sort of tell us the whole story. And it's fantastic to actually see how you two as a couple have really, really you've inspired so many people, because you made that move when people, you know, weren't even thinking of making that move, you know.
Right.
So thank you very much. So let's move on. Tell us a little bit about what made you choose Barbados then, because obviously you kept coming year after year. What made you suddenly decide, you know what, I want to live here now, I want to retire here? So what was your job before? What was you doing?
Well, I was working for the National Health Service. Just to flip back, well, no, I was working for the National Health Service, and I was working full time. I wanted to reduce my hours to part-time because I was finding it was a bit stressful, because it was a full-time job, and my role in the team was very the role I had was important. It was like I was the connecting for all the staff on the team. So I couldn't leave before a certain time, and I had to start at a certain time because that was the job. So I wanted to reduce my hours. The manager wouldn't allow me to reduce the hours. So I thought, right, that's it. I've had enough. And then I said, I'm going to retire. So they were really shocked. But I said, I've worked since I was 16. No. So that's what made me then decide, let's go now. Let's make the arrangements to go now, so to speak. That was 2000.
Can I just say something? Can I just say something? Because I think there are other people who can really relate to what you've just said, and that is work. People just assume that you are going to keep working. And what was so courageous of you is that you decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take that. Because if I remember, you said that you asked to go part-time.
Yeah, I did.
And they refused.
Yeah, they reduced the hours, so they wouldn't reduce them.
Exactly. And this is where I feel it's so important for us, you know, as especially at our age, is that we need to start putting ourselves first. Because like you say, you've worked from 16 years of age.
Mm-hmm. And I'm now 66.
Exactly. And do you know what I mean? That was happening. When was that happening? In your late 50s? Or was it you 60? When
I was coming up to I was about 59, and I was getting tired, you know, the trek home every day. So I said, when they refused the reduced hours, I said, no, I'm not doing any more.
Yeah, no.
I was getting stressed, you see, I was getting really stressed.
Exactly. So many of us, we can all relate to that. But you made that decision, which sometimes is a courageous decision, because we have to think, oh, well, you know, we're led to believe we have to keep working, we need the money, all these different things. And people will be shocked when they look at what retiring? But you put your health and yourself first, which was really, really good. I'm just letting you know, Alison May is saying, my lovely friend Anita.
Yeah, my lovely friend, back to you.
Oh, lovely. And then Genevieve says, oh, I love it when you come down the plane steps and you walk across the tarmac to the airport building. Yeah, there's not many that do that. What a lovely one here. Sylvia said, we must put ourselves first. Good for you, Anita. Take things into your own hands. And that is exactly why I say Anita is an example of, I believe, a fearless woman who has actually thought, you know, I've worked all these hours, all these years. I am ready now to put myself, my husband, my family first. And she did it. I'm just going to give you another little. The thing about it, Genevieve says, is that after you then choose to move on, whoever comes in to do the job after you, they're willing to give that individual the very reduced hours that they refuse to give you.
Exactly.
This is what we're talking about. So it's really important, health and self first. I like that, Sil. Yeah, health and self first. Okay. Really, really important. Okay, so tell us then a little bit then. Can I just say, for everybody who's listening, which is really great, we've got 29 people here. If you have questions now, please put them in the chat. questions that might be specific to obviously Anita, then please do that. And then we will continue to move on. I've got some questions already, which I know people have been asking, so I'm going to move on. But it would be nice to hear if you have any very specific questions. So tell us then, you know, Anita, so you made that decision that you were going to move. What was the process that you had to go through once you made that decision that you were going to go?
Well, the process really was, we didn't have to, because I am a descendant of Barbadian parents. I have a younger sister who had moved to Barbados in the 80s, and she was applying for her Barbadian citizenship at the time. This was 1985, 86. Yeah. So she said to us all, while she's applying for hers, she might as well do all of ours, because there's 4 siblings, 4 of us all together. So she had applied in the 80s for all of our citizenship. So I've had my Barbadian citizenship since 1986.
Wow.
That was confirmed. I have the official letter. So I've been a Barbadian citizen since then, but I'd never gone, never been. None of us had gone. She was there living in the 80s. So I already had that. So there was no criteria to try and pass or get through, you know, jump through any loops. What I also will say is, while I was visiting the island on this yearly basis, my mum had said you can open a bank account in Barbados with me being a citizen. So I'd opened a credit union account. Now I can't remember what time that was, what year, but it was probably 2000 and something. But I opened a Barbados Public Workers Credit Union account. I just used to put a little bit in as I went along every year, $20, you know, whatever, which stood me in good stead, because then when we decided to leave, when we decided that we're going to go and live in Barbados one day, we had purchased a property that a company was building low-income housing for the local people. And they had said, because I'm a citizen, Barbadian citizen, I could have my name on the list, which is what I did, which is 2000 and I think it was 2004. So I had my name on the housing list. I don't know if I can say the name of the company, so I won't say it until I know I can say it. But it was just low-cost housing for the local people, and I was able to get one of those, which was in St. Philip. That's
a fantastic way to get started then. That's a fantastic way to get started, at least
it's
because
a way, yeah.
To get your foot in the door for property.
It's a way, because it was low cost. It wasn't very expensive, but we took out a mortgage because we couldn't afford it cash. So we took a mortgage out with credit union, and that process was quite smooth considering I was still living in England. So we were just doing the process back and forth via email, and scanning documents at work and stuff like that. So we used to come and visit that house, and that was where we stayed when we visited Barbados every year. We stayed there 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then lock up and go back to England. If I can say, the mistake there was, because we all either going to make mistakes or made mistakes, and the mistake there was we should have rented it out, because 2 years out of 52, it was 50 weeks out of 52, it was just sitting there, when we could have rented it out and then come and have a holiday and go in an Airbnb. So that was one mistake. But with the excitement of just going, you're not thinking.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of really good tips there. Firstly, the fact that you, and again, people out there, sometimes we have to think outside the box. What I really, really appreciated about what you were saying, Anita, was that you actually went to the credit union. Now, the credit union is very commonly used out in Barbados. And so what you were saying is you were putting in, every time you went, you put in a few dollars or a few pounds and so on. So eventually they were able to offer you that mortgage, because you had proven to them that you were a good saver, that you were a good, you know.
Yeah.
So this is why I think that sometimes we tend to say to ourselves, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. We sometimes need to look at what other options there might be out there. And
Mm.
that's the purpose of this actual channel. Because now, I remember last week someone else was saying, oh, they didn't know about that. So again, so this is something to put on your list. And I'm sure it's similar in other Caribbean islands, that this is a place where you could be in England and you could be putting your money in every month, so that when you really need, you make that decision to go to Barbados, wherever, you have got a very good chance of getting support with a mortgage or a loan for something.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
true.
is a really, really, really good tip. And the second thing that you said as well, I think is really, really helpful, because we do have a lot of people who are Bayesian, of Bayesian descent, who are following the channel. And again, you know, you've not told us exactly how it happened. Tell them how you just happened to be walking past and you saw this land.
Well, we were there. We were there in St. Philip again, around the 6-year-olds area. I think it was probably like 2003, and we saw some workmen digging over this land. And I said to my husband, "Go and ask him what he's doing." And anyway, he said they were building houses for low-income families, for the locals. So there was two developments. There was like Emerald Park West and Emerald Park East. So I asked him, well, what do you do? What do I need to do to get one of those? And he said, and he gave me the name of the company, and I made contact, and they said, yes, you can put your name on the list, because obviously I had the Barbadian citizenship already from the 1980s. So it was quite simple, really. And then they just contacted me probably a couple of years later to say, we've come to your name on the list. Are you still interested?
There you go. So you don't get if you don't ask.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit like that. I always say, I wonder what they're doing there. Yeah.
And that's how I think you have to be. I mean, the good thing about Barbados is you can ask people; they're always ready to answer. They're always ready to sort of help, and that's why I think it's really good, because people are very approachable out there. So that's why I say, when people go and they do their scouting trips to have a look, I always recommend going around the entire island. And if you see people, because you will see people in these situations, ask them what's happening here, because you never know. You might just get that opportunity, which is what you got, So fantastic, Anita. So then, obviously, so tell us then about, let's go back to now. You're back in England. You made a decision that you're going to go. Did you have to do all the shipping and all those things? How did that all go?
Well, yeah. So fast forward to then when we decided, right, we're going, which is 2018. I had some advice from a lady, a friend of mine, who actually went to Jamaica, and she said, take everything. Take everything. Now, we didn't take everything because we didn't really know. You're still a novice. You don't really know, why should you take everything. But because obviously things are more expensive in the Caribbean, there's certain items and products you can't get in the Caribbean. So she was right. Take everything you can think of. What you don't need when you get there, you can always sell it. So we just shipped over maybe like a sofa, just some little items, like a chest of drawers. We got that from IKEA, but the cooker, the washing machine, we bought that in Barbados but on hindsight, you can bring everything over, because you can now get the dual switch, the dual sockets now, you see.
Yes.
So
yeah.
it wouldn't have been a problem if you bring that.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Anita. You're right about the dual sockets. You can get that now from England. And often it's cheaper in England. So this is what people are doing. And I remember Denise and Rima said last week that they didn't mean to take everything, but they did take everything. And the things they didn't need, they were very easily able to sell on the Facebook market. And they made quite a lot on that. So don't stress yourself thinking, how am I going to get rid of all this stuff? If you can ship it as part of, obviously what all your furniture and everything, ship it, because you just never know. And once you get there, you've got the time to go through things, and then you can perhaps sell some of those things. Or you might actually find things useful out in Barbados that you might not have used when you were back at home. So that's another thing. Yeah. Okay, so then you got into, so obviously St. Philip is the area that you have chosen. I know you said you've been all around the island. Tell us why you chose St. Philip.
Well, St. Philip was the first parish that I stayed in, because my friend's family is from St. Philip in Vineyards. So we stayed there, and it's the largest parish in Barbados. So there was plenty to go around in St. Philip to see. A friend of hers, he drove us around the island in that 2-week holiday time that we were there. So we saw other parts of the island. But somehow I just have this gravitation back to St. Philip at the time. So I never really, no, I've stayed in St. James and I just didn't like the feel. I don't know why, the feel wasn't right, but I stayed in St. Philip more than anywhere else. I've been to all the other parishes, but I just like the feel of St. Philip for whatever the reason. So that's where I said we're going to, we'll stay in St. Philip. I mean, you wouldn't need to leave St. Philip because the beaches are not necessarily swimmer friendly because we're coming towards the East Coast. But you've got all the shops down at 6 Roads, you've got the banks, you've got the credit union, you can, it's everything is down there. And it's more so than when I first came.
Yeah. So even though, so sometimes people think the East Coast is somewhere that you wouldn't perhaps go to live because they think it's a bit far out, you're saying not necessarily so, because where you're located in an area that is still accessible to all the shops, to everything that you need.
Yeah, 5 minutes in the car down at 6 Roads, you can get all what you need and be back home and then take a walk wherever, you see. So I prefer to stay there. I've been around South Coast, West Coast and all of that, but it's not so keen on the touristy all the time, you see. It's makes it feel more warm.
Well, I think if everybody has a chance to have a look at the photographs in the community, and you saw the photographs from last week for Denise and Rima, we're talking the East Coast again. So we're talking St. Philip, we're talking that beautiful, stunning, rugged scenery, beautiful sunsets, fantastic for walking, relaxation, but like Anita says, still accessible to shops and so on. So yeah, absolutely stunning place to actually go to. So could you, Anita, then tell us a little bit about buying houses? Because I know that you said you obviously had that house and you made a good point, and that's something we need to consider. If you buy a house and you're not going to be there all the year, now on reflection, you would have rented it out because you could have been making some money.
That would have been the best option. And then also while you're paying a mortgage, the rent would have covered the majority of the mortgage that we were paying at the time. So I would advise, if you're going to buy a pre-built house and you're not going to be there most of the year, if you don't mind, I mean, you wouldn't dress it up or anything, you just keep it very basic and rent it to the locals, depending what area it's in and who would want to rent it. I wouldn't do Airbnb so much because you'd have to have someone there to oversee that, But if you're going to be away off the island, I would recommend you rent it. And then when you come for your holiday, you can go and stay and have a holiday. Because what I found was when you come back now to the house, you feel like, even though we're on holiday in Barbados and we're going out, it's, we've got to do the washing up, or you've got to get a little tidy. Whereas if you're on holiday, you don't do all of that. So the holiday feel is what you're looking for after working, hard in England, 5 days, 6 days a week. You want a holiday and to just chill and relax.
Yeah. And actually, like you say, if you are getting money back on that property, that's less stress on you, because somebody else is paying that mortgage, which means when you do go out there, you've got more money to relax and enjoy yourself and enjoy that.
Right, yeah. You're not trying to find as much to pay your mortgage as you would have done, yeah.
Exactly.
So
oh,
right, thought it went off.
Oh,
yeah,
you're back. So the next thing,
so as I said, the mortgage.
Tell us about the mortgage.
Well, that was relatively easy. I applied for it, and because I'd had an account with them for some time, it wasn't, oh, I don't know, let's have a think about it. It was approved almost straight away, and then you just pay the monthly install like you would if you was in the UK or Canada or wherever you might be living. So that was relatively easy, and then we just organised how to pay the monthly payments, and that just went smoothly all the time until we decided then to come here for God.
How many people out there now listening, if they had the chance to set up, with the credit union and start building up that kind of a bit of money in there so that you could then apply for a mortgage, would do that? Yes. Yeah, because it's going to help you to get that house without the stress of feeling that you've got to sell everything before you actually go there. You could actually have a property before you actually make the decision to go out there full time. So, and then when you're ready, then go. I'm just seeing something here. Dorothy has said, we took everything except the appliances, because she said there are good appliances in Barbados, and it's easier to get parts and warranties for goods bought there. But she definitely agrees, bring everything that you can. So that's good. Well, I've had a few me's in there. Yes, Sandra Connor. Me, yeah. Definitely. And that says yes as well. Who else? So this is where we need to start thinking, and we need to start sharing those ideas, because we often just have one way, or we think of one way of doing things, when often there's lots of other ways of doing that. Yeah. We need to get ourselves sorted, start with a credit union and start building, so that when you need to get that mortgage, get that property, make some money from it until eventually you're ready to go. So fantastic, Anita. It's amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
What I will say is, you do find, and I'm not sure why they don't share information, a lot of people do not share information. It's like, I know this, I'm not going to share it with you. Why? It's as though, I don't know what it is, because if my husband and myself, we've always, anybody ask us anything about, if we know it, we just give them all the information. We offer the information. It's helpful to know. So there's lots of things that people knew, never told us. Why not? So I don't know what it is. And I think that's a trait that maybe people need to look at that. If you know a good tradesman, if you know this, share it amongst all of us, because we're all in the same boat. We all want to be successful. We all want to have a happy life. We all want a stress-free life. Just share the information. Yeah, simple. Yeah. Just share the information.
Well, Dr. Sylvia said, good point, Anita. And it is, share that information. And that's what this, community is about. Let's help each other so we can all get there, because we all want that same, journey. We all want to get there. We all have that dream. And if someone can help us by giving us that information and helping us to think in an alternative way, that's going to make a massive difference. So thanks ever so much. So next question. So what was it like? Because I know that how long did you stay in that property then? Because I know that you bought 2 houses.
Right. Well,
how easy was it to buy? Sorry, Anita.
Right. Well, it was easy. It was easy because as I said, once the company said they'd come to my name on the list, we went through the process, the mortgage, pay the company. That was relatively easy. All done via email as well. Everything was email. Any certain documents that were scanned and sent back. So we weren't even in Barbados when we were going through the process. So that was relatively easy. Then we had a house in England that we then sold. We had a house in England that we then sold. And then we then finished. Sorry, we then finished the mortgage. We paid the mortgage off with some of the proceeds from the house that we had. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Bought. And then because we wanted to move from where we were, somewhere a little less quiet, a bit more residential, because there was a lot of, everyone. I will say, I don't know if it's the time to say it. In my view, the lifestyle in Barbados is the lifestyle. Everybody has the same lifestyle. You can go out, you can go to the sea, you can chill at the rum shop, you can go line dancing. The lifestyle is the lifestyle. But for me, you have to get the living right. The living is your home, the location, the environment. I like peace and quiet. So when whoever decides you want to go and live in Barbados or Jamaica or anywhere, go and have a look around the island, have a look at the areas, have a look what's around you there. All of those things, do I want to live here? And you can't foresee what's going to come after you've got there, but at least do the homework on that.
Yeah. I think that is something I always remember when we talk, Anita. You say, about the living and the lifestyle. And I think that really, really is crucial, because you can be in the most beautiful place in Barbados, but if you're not, we know Barbados is beautiful. We know it's got so much to offer. We all want to be there. If Barbados, if not Barbados, the Caribbean, we all want to be there. But would you be happy if you was in a house that you didn't feel was your home? Because actually you didn't feel comfortable in that area, or it was noisier than you anticipated, or whatever. So it's just the same as when you're back home in England, US, Canada, wherever. You have to take the time, because sometimes when you go to you're so excited, oh, I'm in Barbados, I'm so excited, you might just end up doing something rash and quick.
That's
and
right.
Then regret it afterwards, because you didn't do your homework to check, well, actually, what's this area like? Maybe I need to come back at different times of the day to check. Right. Is it going to be a community I want to be a part of? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. So, that's a really good point. Joanne Stevens said, good evening. Regarding the mortgage, was it easier to get because it was credit union? Because she said not long set up an account with First Caribbean. So she's just wondering. She's based in the UK also.
Right. I think because as well as having a credit union account, I also had at the time, the bank was called Barbados National Bank. It's now called Republic Bank. But back then it was called Barbados National Bank. So I never thought of going to the National Bank, because it has been said the credit union is more helpful and it wants to assist people to achieve their goals. Yeah. So I am familiar with First Caribbean, and other people might have had positive interaction with them, but I personally don't know. But I would say there's no harm in setting up a credit union bank account. They are easy. As I said, you can go there. Lots of people use there. They use it for loans, for all kinds of things. And don't forget, credit unions are funded by a bank anyway. And I think credit union, the Barbados Public Workers is funded by Republic Bank. So they're kind of interconnected, so to speak. But I would say, open a credit union account, and just put a little bit of money in, put what you can in that you're not going to miss, and then you've got two options. You can say, right, let me check with First Caribbean. Oh no, they're not working. I'll go with credit union.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, Anita. Definitely. And like you say, the credit union specifically has that aim, doesn't it,
to help people.
Yeah,
that's right.
In that way. So I think it's worth you doing that. Joanne. So good question. Thank you.
Thanks.
Beige Boy, back again. Now, this is another question for you. Anita, how have you found the community in St. Philip? Do you feel like you are part of the locals? Because you've been going there for many years now.
I'm not a socialite, so I don't go out all the time and I've got to be in with, I'm not really like that. The community in St. Philip, they're fine. They're friendly. They're helpful. If you ask them something, they'll help you. They'll even take you to whatever. They'll show you how to get it, where to get it, etc. Do I feel like part of the locals? Well, not with my accent, as they've always told me. I'm English. They'll say you're English. So as soon as your accent depicts who you are at the end of the day. So I'm not going to try to talk like a Bajan because I'm not a bred and born Bajan. Do I feel like part of the locals? Sometimes, sometimes I do. I get along with some of them around where I am. Do you know what I mean? We'll speak, we'll point, let's go here, we're going there. But overall, I suppose I'm a bit of a, not antisocial, shouldn't say that, not antisocial, but I'm happy in my own skin. And I'm happy to help somebody. You get the people walking past in the morning, if you happen to be putting your bin out, and we have a little chat and they say morning, and they know my name now. Well, morning, Nita, and I'll say morning, so like that. And they'll say, oh, that's the new English couple have just moved in there, that type of thing, so.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really good question. Thank you very much. Yeah. And another, Dorothy says, information sharing is key. We found local Bajans very helpful, just like you said, Anita. In fact, without their advice and guidance, we would have got stuck on many fronts. So, yeah, I think Dorothy said that because I remember they're in Barbados, they were in the UK, and they said, without their advice, like you said, Anita, they're always happy to help and even show you. So that's the great thing. And then there's another really good point here. Jackie says, good afternoon, evening. Good afternoon to you as well. I got citizenship in the 70s.
Oh.
So she got citizenship in the 70s, but only to find out that the government removed it without notice.
Is that the Barbadian government?
I think so. And she had to reply for it. None of us were told. Don't know. Wow.
I've not heard of that, actually. Yeah, I've not heard of that. I'm not sure why that would be. I'd have to ask around why that would be.
Yeah. Well, sorry to hear that, Jackie. Let us know. Have you got it now? Have you got your citizenship? Beige White says the credit union, this is very good, is funded by its members.
That's right.
So you're automatically a shareholder once you've joined. So that's, thanks ever so much for sharing that, because that really does make sense. That's why they tend to be more helpful with financing. Okay?
That's true. That's true.
So everybody bear that in mind. Thanks ever so much. That's really, really good advice and good information to sort of make us understand fully why it's worth joining the credit union. And I think you can join the credit union from back home. You don't have to do it when you're in.
Well, I actually joined the credit union when Barbados had an expo exhibition in London many years ago. And they had stalls. They had one for the COB and one for the public workers. And you could join there and then with £10. So that's how I actually joined. Actually, I was in London when I joined,
Yeah. Well, Jan says, yes, brother was the same. He had to reapply also for that citizenship. So thanks ever so much for that. It's really helpful hearing that information and sharing that information. Could you sort of, in terms of looking for properties, how difficult was it actually looking? Did you get, obviously, support in, did you get an agent when you was looking for your house?
We looked around ourselves, and we didn't really get an agent. We just looked around. We looked at a estate agent online. And then we just looked around for sale boards. You know, the usual channels you look through. The Nation newspaper had a few in there as well, and there's also a website called Cariblis.
Yes.
You can go on there as well, and there's another one, but I can't remember what it's called, to be honest.
Yeah, Cariblis tends to be the one that I think that I would say most people go. You can just Google it, properties in Barbados, and a load will come up. But Cariblis,
Rightmove's have it as well. Rightmove's also have.
Yes,
properties.
Rightmove. Yeah, definitely. So in terms of then, once you actually, so you said you just saw the properties, you didn't need an agent. So then how easy was it in terms of the process? Because last week, Denise and Rima were saying their whole process when they were buying took a year, because the people who were buying, who they were buying their property from, they had some delays, which then affected them.
Right.
So,
okay.
Was anybody in the house that you bought, or
there was a gentleman owned the property, but what I am, and I've always been like that, I'm on it all the time. I don't leave it. You can't say, when they say, all right, just ring me in a couple of weeks' time. No, you ring them the next day and say, right, what's happening? So it wasn't longer than necessary. The time it took how was long the process? I'd say 4 months, 4.5 months.
Yeah.
And you do have to shift them along. Yeah, because I was on them all the time. I was on them. Yeah. The solicitor also, you have to be on them all the time as well.
Yeah. So that's good advice for people. So 4.5 months to a year with Denise and Rima last year in the live, because of things that were out of their control. But just shows you it can also be done a lot quicker as well. So, but you have to be on top of those people and so on.
You have to message them.
Yeah, to get things done. So what can you tell us a little bit then about what would you say is the benefits? What has been the biggest benefits to moving to Barbados in terms of your health, your lifestyle, relationships, family? What do you think?
Well, I love being in the sea. That's my favorite. So I'm not really a rum drinker. Line dancing, no, it's not for me. I don't mind watching it, but not for me. So I could be at the beach every day, and I could stay there all day, every day if I had to. The benefits, obviously, your health. You've got your natural vitamin D coming through your skin. You can eat and drink fresh products, and that helps you the whole health saga, instead of you're not wrapped up in the cold like this. Oh, it's cold, and you can just walk out any time of the day, any time of the evening, and just walk around with your costume on if you want, if you're allowed. So the benefits are, it's laid back. People are not stressed like they are here, and also there's nobody on your back all the time. You're trying to not necessarily impress, but no one's saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be doing that. Now, you do get some Bajans and say, oh, you're supposed to turn right there. You should have gone left there. And you'll say, oh, okay, all right. But you still do the left that you wanted to do in the first place. But apart from that, the benefits are, it's just relax and chill. Yeah. Don't worry about it. My husband always says, well, I used to get anxious in the queues because they take so long. He says, you're not going anywhere. What's the problem? Read the newspaper. What's the problem? You're retired. So that's and you gauge the days, like the bank's not busy on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Don't go Monday, just like in England. Don't go Friday. Go to the shop certain time, get all what it's just planning as well. You have to plan your life.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I like when your husband says, when you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, what you rush? You're not rushing anywhere. What's the problem?
It's because, like you say, we're so used to have that mentality of work. It takes a while, I think, for the body to actually slow down.
Yeah, it does.
It takes time. So that's the benefits. What have been the challenges, would you say?
The challenges are, you see, in England, if there's anything that bothers you, you've got organisations you can go to that you could maybe make a complaint and it might be addressed, whereas in Barbados it doesn't get addressed. It's just something to be aware of. Not everyone's tolerance is the same, but say you have an issue, you know, we had issues sometimes with some of the workmen because we did some improvements on that first house. So some of the tradesmen, we have some good tradesmen because we recommended a couple of them, but then there's tradesmen that they just, oh yeah, I can do that, no problem, but it is a problem. So I think it's always fair to be honest myself, and not everything is cushy, as they would say in Barbados. So if you want work doing, it can be challenging to find the right tradesman to have it done in a relatively decent time at a relatively fair price. I mean, that's just my opinion and my experience, and I know a few people have experienced certain things as well. The other challenge, well, I think important as well, we must remember as we're getting older, the healthcare system there, it's only a small island. It has one main hospital on the island. So imagine it's trying to accommodate all the residents of the island. And even though they've got polyclinics, which is probably like the equivalent of our health centres in the UK, they are still challenged for resources as well. So any major health problems you might have, more often than not, you might have to return back to whence you came from to have that addressed. That's what I would, you know, just to be realistic.
But that's interesting because Denise and Rima last week gave some good, they had some good experience of that, because Rima has got quite some, she has a major illness, but it's been actually very well controlled.
Right.
And when she's had to go to the hospital, she's found that it was actually very good. So like you say, you just have to get both sides. It could be wonderful, but there might be times when it's not. So the most important thing I would say is make sure you've got the actual private medical health care.
Right, but that's
the most important thing to have.
But the private medical insurance doesn't cover everything in Barbados.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. Doesn't cover everything.
So I've had my eyes dealt with at the QEH. Great, fabulous.
Yes,
no problem. And I have my blood pressure monitored regular at the polyclinic, the local polyclinic. Not a problem. But anything more major, it might be a challenge.
Yeah. So people just need to bear those things in mind. So thanks for that. So actually, that was going to be the next question, actually, but we've sort of gone through that then. People say Barbados is expensive. We know is it expensive? How have you managed that? What are your feelings on that in terms of, are there any tips that you could give in terms of how you could manage spending and so on?
I think the most expensive is obviously your groceries and your food. So you can monitor, I won't have 5 rums tonight, I'll just have 2. But your groceries, you have to monitor your groceries. Do I really need to have 5 different drinks, for instance? You know, you just have to be savvy with your spending. So we've managed quite fine. And if we want a treat, we'll have a treat. We'll say, right, we can go and have a nice meal at Champers or wherever. But you can't be spending. Just like in anywhere, you can't just keep spending. Look at your budget. Look at what you've got coming in. You know, as soon as you spend, if you only get £10, you can't spend 11. It's as simple as that. You know, and if you want to treat your favourite chocolate, buy it once a month. You know,
definitely.
Just have to be savvy with your spending.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I would say to people, if you weren't here last week or the week before, one of the things I notice is the brands. If you want to go for the branded things that you recognize back in your home, back in the US and so on, you are going to pay premium. Don't go for those. So that's how you can really save your money, by shopping with the local vendors, you know. And when you go into the supermarkets, don't go for those brands, because they know that really they put them there for the people, the tourists. They'll come, they'll buy it because they're only there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they've gone home. So, but now you're actually living there. You're living there long term. So you have to think how you would exactly budget, as Anita says, and just be savvy with your money. You get to know where you can buy things, good prices, and so on. And there's definitely, that's how local Bayesians are able to get by, because there are a variety of shops. And that's what you've got to do. Look what the Bayesians are doing, and you do the same. Talk to them, ask them, and you will find that you will find the places where you can buy those things.
Right. And then once you start living there, once you decide I'm going to live there, you can grow a whole load of things. Instead of paying for, you can grow so much stuff. I mean, I haven't at the moment because I'm over here, but I've grown rocket, I've grown spinach, I've had passion fruit, we've had bananas, we've had plantain, we had the hot peppers. There was something that's had, but you can start, as soon as you move in, start planting your crops, plant your banana tree, anything, plant all that you can that will help get through. Yeah.
That is really, I'm glad you said that, actually, Anita, because that's very true. And what I've found is that people will always share what they've got.
That's
always
right.
Share what they've got. Yes, Sylv, you need to get your green fingers.
You can swap. You might have bananas, I might have some plantain. You just swap around, have one, because you can't eat all of that to yourself.
Exactly.
So share.
So it's about being savvy. It's about building those relationships with people around you, so that you can support each other. And that's what I think is exactly. And that, I think, is what is so beautiful about that. It is more of an outdoor living. It is where you go out and you will see people. You're not, whereas in England, sometimes you don't see your neighbour for months, you know? So this is the beauty of this place. It means that people are out there. You're more likely to see them in the garden or going out, like you say. And this is where you can share ideas, you can share food, resources, and so on. So that's brilliant. Now, what's your favourite thing to do on the East Coast? You said swimming.
Well,
swimming. What else?
On the East Coast, it's just about walking, really. You could walk from one end. My husband's family is from St. Andrews. So we go up there. So we go up there regular. So you can go along the East Coast and you can walk quite far, really, from, I think, near Barclays Park, at the East Coast, and go all the way towards St. Andrew and stop just short of, like, near Cherry Tree Hill. Cherry Tree, I think it's called. Yeah. It's just a very calming, quiet place to be. It's not busy all the time. Even though people are there, it's just so calming. You can sit on the rocks and just look out into the sea and just chill and talk and eat, you know.
I have to admit, you know, I love walking.
Right,
walking. So when I'm next back there, I'll have to hook up with you and definitely need to go for a walk along that coastline.
That's right, lovely coastline.
I do walk up to Cherry Tree from Spikes and so on. And St. Andrews, there's a lot of walks, because, like, if anyone's interested to know, there's really good hiking groups out there.
There is. I've been on a couple.
Yeah. You've been on them as well, haven't you, Anita?
I've been on a couple, but they're up early, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. But they do actually do some in the afternoon, because I went to one in the afternoon. It nearly killed me. But it was a great walk, but that was an afternoon one. But majority are all the morning ones, like you said earlier. before it
I
gets
mean,
too hot.
once you get there, it's really enjoyable. It's, you know, it's like
Yeah,
exhilarating. It's so enjoyable.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And actually, I would recommend that group because they actually go all over the island.
yeah, they
So,
do.
you know, they'll probably come to the area where you are based once you
Yeah,
get,
that's
as
true.
long as you get their schedule, and then you can say,
Mm.
right, I'll go and have a walk
Well,
with them.
there is a FB page called, I think it's called the Hiking Association, and they have a
Yes,
timetable of where they're going to be doing the next hike, and what time. So whoever's interested could go on that site and have a look
yeah,
at and see. You know, next time they're in Barbados, you can go on a hike with them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, that's something. And what's amazing when you see people of all ages walking, and it's
That's
funny
right.
because
Yeah.
when you're back home, like I'm back, I don't see lots of people, black people walking
Mm,
here. There's all black people. It's
yeah.
really fantastic to
It
see.
is. It is.
You know, it's absolutely wonderful to see how they really push with their health.
Mm,
You know,
definitely. Yeah.
um, it's very inspiring and help makes you kind of want to sort of, you know,
That's right.
focus on getting fit and being more active. Right, we're getting towards the end here. If there's any more questions, please put them in the chat because I know we started a little bit late. Is there anything, I just wondered if you tell us about, because I know there's a lot of cultural things that happen on the island. Seems to be a lot of cultural things that
Yeah.
happen. Is there
Mm.
anything that you could say that you really enjoy? You know, I know obviously at this time of year it's crop over, but maybe at other times of the year.
Well, we went to a nice. They do like a nice play. They do plays at the Barbados Museum. Is always good for information. So we saw a nice play there last year. Actually, it was early this year or last year, by the local people who go to one of the colleges there. So that was really a friend of mine and her. We went there. They do lots of different little things in different parts of the island, and it's just a matter of getting the information. What they do also do, the Prime Minister of Barbados, she does have forums in each parish. I think she's finished at the moment, but she'll have one, you know, like St. Philip, St. Michael, wherever, and you can go along. And if you've got any questions or concerns or ideas, you can put them across at the forum.
Wow. To the Prime Minister. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
but you
got
see,
access.
she's very interactive, isn't she? She's not like,
Yeah,
you know, she's accessible as well, because I believe you
exactly.
can email her. So she has forums. I mean, when I find the next ones, I'll send it to you. I missed the St. Philip one because I wasn't on the island at the time. So she has the forum in all the parishes throughout the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think again, Mia Motley is somebody I think that does, just in terms of what she's doing and what she's doing in terms for the island, makes you feel very settled there, especially if you're coming from the UK or
Yeah,
wherever.
that's
You
right.
feel
Yeah,
like you go into a place where there is a leader who is accessible,
yeah,
somebody who, you know, when you see her, you see her people talk, she talks to you, you know,
yeah,
we
yeah.
just don't get that accessibility,
No, not
you know.
here. No.
She's down to earth, and whatever we might feel, we just don't get that. It's kind of we are completely cut off in England from all of that.
Yeah,
It's as if
that's true.
nobody really considers what we think or feel.
Yeah,
Whereas I
exactly.
feel that that's somebody who is trying. So,
Yeah,
you
she's
know,
trying. I agree. What you
yeah,
must also remember is because it is a small island, she will be more accessible. I mean, England is a much bigger place than Barbados.
exactly.
But even though, and you've got to make your local MPs work. They have MPs in Barbados, and they're there for us. They are just like here. They're working for us because come election time, they'll want our vote. So I always
Yes,
remind them, you are there for us. So if I want to go to see the local MP for whatever reason, and they'll say, "Oh, I was just about to shut the door," I says, "Well, no, you know, election time. If I said that to you, you wouldn't be happy if I shut my door." And then they start laughing. They say, "All right, come on, what is it?" You know. So they are accessible, and you just have to crack a little joke with them now and again, and they're fine, you know.
Well, before we finish, Anita, that's absolutely wonderful. I've got a couple of things that people have said. Bayesian Brit says that was quick. You know, when in terms of selling the property, people are saying that was fantastic. Beige Voice said the same. 4 months. Wow, that must be a record. So it just shows you it is possible. It is possible.
The house that we sold first, we put it on the market in August, and it was sold, and we were out by the 1st of October. Wow. But I was always on them. I was ringing. I was saying, right, what's happening? I wasn't just sitting there when they said, right, we'll get back to you. I got back to them. And the same with when we purchased the second house, I was on it all the time, ringing, what's going on. I even went down to the solicitors. I'm outside. He goes, he said, oh, gosh, you're going to be the death of me. You know, and I said, well, you know, we need to get it moving, you know. So you've just got to be a bit, and even if you're abroad, just keep sending them emails, what's happening, some things you can't help, you know, some things you can't help, but you've just got to, don't sit down and say, oh, well, he said he'll see me tomorrow. You be there first thing in the morning and say, right, what's happening?
Well, and on that note, Anita, I can imagine, you know, that is exactly what you have to do. I've spoken to other people and they said the same. You do have to be on to get things done, you know. So that might be something that we might not be so familiar with, but that's something that I just think that you have to do if you want to
just one thing. What would be good, just like we have in the UK, we have organizations of carpenters, plumbers, electricians. Maybe someone could set something up in Barbados where the recommended reliable tradesmen, that you've got a list here, ring somebody off that list. That would be very helpful.
Yeah. That is, and that's what I said, that's something that we as a group could do, that because I think that's what we all talked about. Referrals are so important out there, you know, in order to get, you know, people that you can trust to get the work done. Is really, really important. Have you got kind of any last couple of tips or anything you want to say?
I would just say, you must make a plan. Make the plan. And the plan might not always go accordingly. So have plan A, plan B, plus plan C. And when you set a budget, as we all know, a budget isn't always going to be your budget. You got to have the, what do you call it again? The, you know, your fallback. So you've got your budget might be 100,000. You might need 150,000. So you've got to always legislate, could cost me more. Do you want to build? Do you want to buy a house? And always drive around the area where you're going to, where you think you might want to be. Have a look around. Do I like the area? Do I like the feel? And as you said yourself, different times of the day, morning, noon, and night. Definitely morning, noon, and night.
Yeah, because that's where you will find out, especially when people are back home from work. What the noise level would be like.
That's right.
You know, that's something that you would, you know, is important. And I think most people would be interested to know about that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure not many people want to be somewhere it's really loud. But
and don't be shy to ask questions. You know, you've got the lovely Jacqueline here. Just fire the questions to her, and whoever she knows can answer. She will ask us all, and we will, whatever we know, we will share, because it is about the sharing. And it's not just the local sharing, it's about expats who want to go to Barbados and live, that we also have information that we can share. I'm willing to share it with you to make the smooth transition and be happy in our retirement, because that's what it's about.
Honestly, Anita, that is wonderful. It is really, really helpful. And that's from somebody with years of experience going backwards and forwards to Barbados, and now who's been living there for over 5 years. So I really feel that is something that is really, really helpful. Dr. Sylvia says the list would be good, might make the tradespeople step their game up to get on the list. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. I agree with that.
Definitely. So so that's something that one of the great things about, you know, meeting people like Anita and so on. And actually, it was funny how we met Anita, because we met, was it on a Facebook group? Because I've said to people,
looking for something, yeah.
Yeah, that's how we met on one of the Facebook groups. I think it was for women who travel by themselves, and that's how we got talking. And then Anita came over to where I was in Speightstown, because she likes to. So Anita goes all over the island. She left St. Philip. Husband drove all the way up.
Where's there's a nice bit of spot to spin, swim, I will be there.
Exactly. Well, next time I'm back, we'll have to hook up, as I said, walking and swimming, because I know you like Speightstown for swimming as well. So
yeah, I do.
Where we are. Yeah. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Anita. We really appreciate this. It's been absolutely fantastic. Lots of great tips, lots of fantastic messages. If you are really, really considering thinking about whether you would like to retire early, here's proof it's possible. You know, don't let people think that you've got to continue all the way to, what is it, 66, 67 now?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Don't be that person that regrets the fact that they retired too late. Because often, you know, I've met people out in Barbados and they've said we came too late. Because then your health, it becomes an issue. You need to go whilst you still got your health moving, because you will only get healthier from being out there, you know. So whereas when you're here and you've got the stress and not eating right, you're not getting the vitamin D, you're not getting any of that, this is where we get problems with our health. And then it's too late to travel because you're ill. So, Janet Lee says, swimming and walking, my ideal retirement wishes. I've enjoyed this most informative talk. Thank you so much, Janet. And just to say to you, Beige Boy said, great interview. Sandra says, great interview. Thank you so much. Anita, you've been absolutely amazing. As I said, fearsome, phenomenal. These fantastic speakers, people who are out here, you know, who have been leading the way, the trailblazers, who are leading the way and moving away from the UK, US, Canada, wherever you are, and understanding that you can have a fantastic life back in the Caribbean. And Barbados is a fantastic place, definitely, not only to live or go on holiday or to work as a remote worker, but also for retirement. And it is accessible. Don't let people think you can only retire here if you're a billionaire. No, this is the message they're trying to get out.
I'm not a millionaire.
Yeah, they're trying to say it's only billionaires and millionaires. No. So hopefully this will inspire you to let you know Barbados is a fantastic place. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Anita, again. Can't wait to meet up with you soon on sunnier shores. And just to let everybody know that there will be another interview soon, and I'm trying to get somebody who's building. So if you are interested in building, then I think that would be a really, really great interview for you to watch. So thank you ever so much, everybody. So I think that's it. Oh, and I always forget to do this. Please remember to like. It really is really, really important. If you can like the actual, press that like button, push the subscribe button as well. I'm working towards getting to the 1,000 subscribers. So I think we're on about 750. But yeah, I'm working on getting to 1,000, because once I get there, then hopefully there'll be more of our videos will be pushed out for more people, because it's all about the algorithm. You know, it's all about, I'm learning about the YouTube algorithm. So so thank you very much. And that's it then. So you did it, Anita.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thank you very much. Bye.